Okay, guys, so today we're gonna do an Aaron Douglas illustration with watercolors. So what do you need for this? Obviously a set of watercolors, a little brush that usually comes in there, water, paper, like your big regular paper, and it's usually watercolor paper. This paper is like really thick. So it holds water, and then this I'm gonna use it to just make sure that my brush is clean, or that the color that I want is actually like clean. As you can see here, there's some marks in my watercolor, so I just want to make sure that before I put it into the big paper that the color that I'm gonna use, it's completely pure and not contaminated with other colors. So this is the sheet that I'm gonna use in order to do that. So to start off, I'm gonna first do the sketch with my pencil first. I'm gonna do my lines. They're gonna be very soft, very light. We don't want the lines to be noticeable, because when we paint with watercolor, since it's so transparent, we don't want the marks of the pencil to be like too visible. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Maybe that's too much. I'm gonna take this out for a second since we're gonna be drawing only right now. And I'm gonna show you on the side, probably here, the image that I'm drawing. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the top. So let's go. We have here a little wave line. Okay, and you just try to do it as best as you can. I really, I don't want you guys to get frustrated. 3, and the lines are getting a little bit thicker as we go. Ooh. Uh-oh, I'm breaking my lead. Maybe I'm pushing too hard. Alright. Then there's skinny line. 1, 2, 3, okay. There's another line. 1, and then there's 2, and then there's one that's here, that starts here, and 3 wavy lines. Woohoo! Alright, now we see another line here, right? So let's do that. So it's almost like a rainbow, but stops, right? Rainbow and then stops, because there's a circle here too. I might need to cut my paper because I'm noticing it's too long. So I don't know if you can see better the lines there. Okay, and then there's little bubbles here. So I'm gonna do the little bubbles. Start small. And again, if it's hard for you to see, it's because I'm doing it very light. So when I go over with my watercolor, it won't be so much. One, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 2. And then there's this circle here at the bottom. And I'm gonna do that goes between the top one and the bottom one. So I'm gonna go whoop. Awesome. Oh my goodness. Okay, and then I have my rainbow here, kept going. One, 2, 1, 2, 3 lines. And 3. Alright, so I have my 3 lines, 1, 2, 3, and 4, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's 4 lines. And I'm gonna do now the floor, which is like one of the darkest parts. Oh, let me see if you guys can see it. Okay, here. So you see, I think I'm gonna cut my paper because this is too long. So that's what I'm gonna do, but in a little bit. So first I'm gonna make sure that I have my floor, right? And then here there's some like mountains. I'm gonna zoom in even more. There you go. Woo! Okay, hopefully the camera doesn't fall. So we have like some kind of mountainy shape, triangular shape here. Then we have, what else do we have? We have this, the flower, the leaf. And it's okay if you have a line inside, because since it's gonna be very dark when we paint it here, a little bit of watercolor. It's gonna be okie dokie if there's lines inside. And I'm gonna try to draw the man as best as I can, because I'm not really good at drawing silhouettes, but we have to try, right? Try to get better. Whoop. The hand, the arm, the shoulders are very sharp. If you see it in the image, it's like, what? This is so sharp. Okay, you see? And I'm drawing it on top of my other, like my rainbow, because that's the way it looks like in the image anyways. I'm gonna be very interested when we color it. Okay, I did it without a neck. There you go. It's actually like this. Oh, you see, now I'm starting to make dark lines, which is what we don't want. But I'm thinking, like, since it's gonna be dark, the silhouette is gonna be dark, it shouldn't be a problem. But still, like, we should stay doing just very light marks with our pencil. Okay, I think that's good. I mean, let me break it down. There you go. Okay, that's good for me. I mean, the arm is a little bit, okay, let me get perfectionist here. Let me get, because both of the arms are very skinny and they're very like straight. If you really look at the image, it's like they're very, very straight. So I'm just gonna fix it a little bit, make it a little bit skinnier. Ta-da! And that's it. There's no division for the legs, which is good because one less thing that we have to do. All right. Whoop. Awesome. So now we're still at the bottom part. I'm actually gonna make it longer, believe it or not. And then there's wavy lines here. It's almost like a river, it looks like. Whoa. I wish I was better at making wavy lines. I feel like I'm not the best. But we practice, right? Woo! Okay, and I think this is where I'm gonna cut off my paper. So if you're having that issue too, that if your paper is too long, I don't think so, because you guys have like a set size, but this one is bigger than a regular sheet of paper, so that's why I'm gonna cut the bottom Okay. Alright, so I cut the bottom now. It looks fine now. And whoop, whoop. Now I'm gonna use my watercolor. Okay, so now that I have my drawing done, ta-da! Alright, whoop, from the top all the way to the bottom. I'm gonna give you some tips before you start using the watercolor. Okay? Okay, so tip number 1, be patient. Watercolor is the kind of element that it needs a lot of patience, and it works on layers. It's not like regular paint that you just get a chunk and then you're just like, yeah, and it covers your whole paper. No. It's meant to be transparent. So for example, right now, okay, I'm gonna dip my brush, and look, as you can see, I'm not pushing down my brush. I'm just dipping it here from the top, okay? So do not push your brush down, because what happens is that you can actually like damage the brush, okay, and flatten it. So we don't want to do that. We want to have our brushes last us as long as they can. So now that we have that, I'm gonna use purple, right, because the drawing is purple. But just so I can show you, you see how light I dab a little bit? I didn't go with force to my purple watercolor. I did it very softly. And now, look, let's start. We're just gonna do this model first. You see how light it is? Okay, we're like, well, maybe we don't want this much light. So then we go over again, slightly more, and then let's go over to the top. Ooh, it's getting darker, you see? Because each layer, it gets darker and darker as you add more layers. So now let's add a third layer. I'm gonna go now a little bit more to the top. And if you want to do this right, you will have to wait until it dries to add the other layer. So we're gonna wait until it dries, right? And then I'm gonna add it. So I'm gonna put the video on hold for now, and then I'm gonna come back when it's a little bit dry so I can show you how adding more layers makes it darker, as opposed to just stabbing my paintbrush in the watercolor to just right away make it darker. No. This is just very calming, very soothing way of, painting. So we have to have patience. So that's the number 1 rule, patience. So I'm gonna leave this to dry, and I'm gonna come back once it's dry and show you more. Woohoo! Okay, now we're back and it's dry. Awesome. And now we're gonna dip our beautiful brush one more time, and if I go over it, look how dark it looks, right? Whoa, that's cool. So it looks even darker. And that's how we basically make layers paint with watercolor. We're just doing layers on layers on layers of watercolor, and that's why you have to be patient, because you need to dry it in order to later on keep adding so it can look darker and darker and darker. So I think before we start, maybe we should do a value scale of watercolors. I think that will be like really, really helpful for us, so we know how to work with this material. So I'm doing a value scale. Okay, I'm gonna wait for this to dry and then add more. So it's gonna be from darkest to lightest, right? As you can see here, you can barely notice anything. So let's wait for this to dry a little bit, and then we add the next layer. Let's go. and we stop here, right? Okay, because this is like our lightest version of this. Okay, now we're gonna wait until it dries. I'm gonna go only to the third one. Just wait until it dries. Now that it's dry, we're gonna go and add more. We stopped in the third one. So you can still see, you see very light, medium, then medium. This is medium light, this is medium, and then we're gonna get a little bit more darker. You're gonna keep waiting for the paper to dry. As you can see, if there's a glare, that means that's wet still. So I'm gonna be back in a sec. Paper is dry. Let's add more. This time we'll only go until the second square. First and second one. Now we wait one more. Whoop. So we can have the darkest one here. But as you can see, you can already tell, you know, which is really nice. Alright, so now, last one. One more time, I dipped it into my purple and there you go. Ta-da! And here's our beautiful value scale made with watercolor. So now I think we're ready to start using watercolor for our beautiful picture that we did earlier. Okay, let's start. Our first layer is going to be the lightest value. So we're gonna go all over our paper from top to bottom and covering it up with our lightest value of watercolor. If you're not sure which one is your lightest value, please refer back to your value scale that we done just previously so you can have a better idea, okay? Now I'm gonna start adding the second layer. I'm gonna wait for this to dry because it's not like drying it's not, like it's wet still. So I'm gonna wait for that to dry a little bit. Our first coat. As you guys can see, when I didn't wait, my watercolor started bleeding out to the next part, and that's not what I wanted. So that's why it's super important to be patient, which I have very little of, but let's try it. Okay, so now let's do this wave. Wave, wave, wave. There you go. Okay, so I'm gonna wait for this to dry because as you can see, it's starting to bleed out again. And then I'm gonna go over it one more time, especially for the darker areas. Okay guys, so you can see I started as well with the bottom. I give a light, like a medium, right? Or almost medium light coat here. And now that it's dry, I'm gonna add more so it can match to the picture. I'm still working here at the bottom. I'm just gonna add another layer since this side is very dark. It's like a dark, you know? So it's not there yet, so it probably needs another coat. Alright guys, so I'm done. I'm gonna show you a picture of my final result because it doesn't fit right now in the camera with this angle, but I'll show you in a second. My work is dry. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this.